Thank you for tuning into our podcast, Canal Days, What Life is Like in the Industrial Connecticut River Valley of Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining us today is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Cahoon. He personally offers and leads public and private tours, as well as presentations of historical sites within communities throughout the state of Massachusetts. Currently, the communities he has chosen to focus on this year are Holyoke, Chicopee, South Hadley, and Easthampton, and also Granby and Amherst as well. His tours spotlight the local canals, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks, streets, and selected historical houses within each community. In today's episode, we'll be discussing the Oxbow Ramp located in Easthampton, Massachusetts. So where is the Oxbow?
It's in Easthampton, sure, but it's nestled between Holyoke and Northampton. Each of those communities are about 200 yards away. So this is a tiny sliver of Easthampton where the Oxbow comes in from the Connecticut River and forms into that distinctive oxbow shape. And the Oxbow is very large. And we will today talk about the Oxbow and how it formed, and then what's the place to get in there, and what features might you find around this Oxbow and around the Oxbow Ramp. Now, it is part of the Connecticut River Greenway State Park, which is eight combined boat access locations within Massachusetts. And each one of those you can go in to the river from them. This one's a rather pleasant one to look at. They're all at gorgeous sites. The main one, of course, is in Northampton, but this one in Easthampton is wonderful. I've been in there with a kayak many times, probably up to 40 times, and it's very pleasant to go around there. Now, the Oxbow is very easy to get to off of Route 5, and around it you can paddle for maybe about 45 minutes outwards as it curves around, and then another 45 minutes backwards. So it's quite a bit to do out there, and there's quite a bit around this area too.
And so how did the Oxbow form?
It formed, it used to be a meander of the Connecticut River, but around the year 1850, I believe, it was cut off during a flood, and that means the Connecticut River straightened out at that point. The meandering part was very close to the inlet and outlet of itself, and so it's very easy to cut off. The shape of it is such that that name is used whenever a very long meander is cut off. They use that name Oxbow. And there was a painting made around that time. I forgot the name of it, but it's very famous. And it shows the meander going around. Nowadays, you go out there and the Connecticut River at that point goes straight across. So nowadays, we have a meander cut off, and you can enter at one point. And that's the point where the Oxbow Ramp is. It's the point where the water goes below the Connecticut Railroad Bridge, and it's the point at which State 91 goes through, very close through one portion of the back of the Oxbow, and Route 5 goes through the front of it with a bridge also. So all traffic now has to go over bridges at that area because the Oxbow is there. So it was formed by a violent water storm, and it kind of could flood through it. But it's made for us a very pleasant recreation area, which is very fun to be in. And it has a typical Oxbow geography, flat around all sections of it like it needs to be. And it's acquired its own forms of life there, because now you have this very large water supply on its own, and so you get certain kinds of fish, birds, and other kinds of life around that area. And in fact, the Acadia Wildlife Sanctuary is along one of its edges.
And really quick, before we continue with our interview, just to fill our listeners in, For more information or to sign up for any various tours, you can check out his website at hoyokecanaltour.org. And there you can find videos and podcasts of the stops along each of his tours, as well as photos and text of the historical sites throughout as well. And for private tours and other inquiries, you can email him directly at bobcat4214, And his tours make for fun educational outdoor activities for families and group parties. So getting back to our interview, what is the best place to get into the Oxbow?
The best place by far is off of Route 5. Route 5 only passes through Easthampton for a very short time between Northampton and Holyoke. And you can get in there, and there's a lot of boat ramp outlets through there. You could park. There's one special parking section for rooftop boats such as kayaks and canoe, and then there's another section of parking for the bigger ones where you have a trailer coming in. So you can put in with your big boats there, and you can put in with a kayak or canoe. There's also private places such as the Oxbow Marina, which is on the other side of the Oxbow, and that is through a private means, so thus you have to pay to get in there and pay to store your boat for the year. There's also a special boat club halfway through the Oxbow, and there's many private residents on the upper part of the Oxbow. If you just walk it into the area, there's lots of places to walk from along a couple of roads towards the north and the west, and then from the south it's hard to get in because you have to bushwhack. But there's lots of places to get into here and enjoy the area. If you want to get into the water, that's great. You can stay out there for a couple hours. You can go out in the Connecticut River, or just stay in the Oxbow for a very long time.
And what about other features are there around the Oxbow?
There is Arcadia Wildlife Sanctuary, which is owned at this time by Mass Audubon. And there they have multiple trails. The whole land for them is in Easthampton, but borders right onto the Oxbow. And so you can walk through those trails and get onto the Oxbow from them. And they also border on the Manhattan River, so there's a lot of trails in the Acadia that border onto water. And you can also go onto the bike path. That's there. The bike path was put in about 25 years ago. And this bike path is gorgeous. It goes from this Route 5 in Easthampton all the way up to the other end of Easthampton. And it's a beautiful, well-made bike path. Along the way, there's an additional bike path that comes in from the Northampton bike path. So you can get into that one too. And so there's two bike passes through Easthampton. And other things around the area, of course, there's the Mount Tom Range, and the Easthampton's access point called the Mount Tom Trailhead is very easy to find on East Street, which is near Route 5. And from there you can get up onto Mount Nonotuck. And then towards the north, of course, you got Northampton, but out from the Oxbow, you get the Connecticut River. So if you put your canoe or kayak out there, you can get out onto the river and explore the river. And it's right across the river from the Mount Holyoke Range in South Hadley, so you got a lot of exploration to do. And I've gone here so many times, I know it so well. And it's a great site, very scenic, but also great for naturalists, of course. And there's very many things to do around this area, and I've very often gone off on my kayak, but then come back and gone up the mountains by walking from this Oxbow ramp, or walking up towards East Street just to get a natural sight. And so it's a great place to be.
And thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours and historical topics of your expertise. And we want to thank our sponsors. And of course, we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. So check out a large selection of our other podcasts at his website, as well as on SoundCloud.com, and be sure to stay up to date with new podcasts and videos posted daily. Thank you, and hope you tune in again.